Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the Cali Effect. Today we are going over the Monarch deck profile, but I'm a little bit pressed for time because I'm going to be saying a lot of information. I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of information. There is going to be reasons why I play cards, and then for the cards that I don't mention, you guys can obviously answer in the question comments below, and I will be answering them. For monsters, we're going to be starting off. I run 3 copies of Urbus. I apologize. 3 Aether, 1 Thessalos, 1 Caius, and 2 Vanity's Fiends. That's gonna sum up the tribute monsters. I really wanted to run more copies of the tribute monsters, but finding room in this deck is extremely hard. Oh, I'm sorry, and 1 Karaz. Next, for the tribute cards, 3 Idea, 3 Edos. That's pretty much it. If you open with Idea and activate and resolve its effects successfully, you'll never need another tribute card again. To be honest with you guys, the only 2 vassals that are really good are the rock one and the light one. The other ones are pretty subpar. But for hand traps, we're gonna run 3 copies of Maxi and 2 copies of Effect Veiler. The 3 Maxi, 2 Veiler. I could have went 2 Ogre, 2 Maxi, 2 Veiler. I just felt that the 3 Maxi and 2 Veiler were really good because Maxi is really good against anything not Monarch, I guess, and even against Monarchs, you can still get some pluses off of it. And Effect Veiler is God against almost every deck this format, bar Cosmos. So I felt that that was really good for Ghost Ogres. I really don't care about my opponent going into the extra deck because I'll just play Dominion and then they won't be able to do anything after that. And I really felt that this was a really solid build. A couple of cards that I really wanted to run were obviously more Mega Monarchs. I probably want to run another Caius, and then of course Karaz, because I want to disrupt more of my opponent's turn, and I'll explain that card a little bit later. For spells are pretty interesting, and I mean pretty upfront. We're going to be running 3 copies of Domain, 2 copies of Tenacity, 3 copies of Pantheism, 3 copies of Stormforth, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 Run for 1, 1 March for the Monarch, 1 Return for the Monarch, and 1 Foolish Burial. I don't necessarily think that Reinforcement of the Army and 1 for 1 are like quote-unquote good, because I only really have 1 target, but I feel that they're very mandatory, especially 1 for 1. I mean, I don't like it, but it's mandatory. Mainly because I need to get Idea to the field as fast as possible. I mean, now that I think about it, I probably could drop the 1 for 1 for the Reinforced Truth for the card that special summons Idea to the side of the field, but it's really slow, and 1 for 1 does provide that instant monster to your side of the field. Another thing that I wanted to run was more copies of Return of the Monarch, because if you see that card on turn 1, it's amazing, and then drawing multiple copies isn't a problem because of Pantheism, the best Monarch card of all time. There's obviously some Monarch cards that I did not play that I can't really think of that are spells, because if I didn't play it, it probably was pretty bad. Another thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to run 2 copies of the Monarch Stormforth, mainly because it feels more like a win more. I only genuinely need to run 2. It doesn't feel like a necessity to run more than 2. I've only activated and resolved it 2 times, and mainly because Cyber Dragon Infinity was on the field, so that's really about it. And it's very searchable, but I'll stick to 3 just because. I only run 2 copies of Tenacity and Monarch because this card actually, even though it is a searcher, it can be dead, especially if you don't have any of the Monarchs to reveal and search with. I don't have that many, especially since I'm not mainboarding Majesty's Fiend, to reveal with Tenacity of the Monarchs. So, I mean, I really think that Tenacity is a pretty good card, but it's best when searched through Pantheism. You select 2 Tenacity and then the card you want, force your opponent to select whatever to pick their poison. Foolish Burial is amazing because there's so many graveyard effects. The Urbus is a great graveyard effect. Your Idea is a good graveyard effect, and your Edos is a good graveyard effect. So Foolish Burial really, at very worst, searches you a Monarch, which this deck does not have. That's pretty much it for spells. Like I said, I wanted to run multiple copies of Return of the Monarchs because seeing that card opening hand is really good. For traps, the Prime Monarch, that's it. No escalation, none of that Rift Raft. You could run escalation. I mean, I feel if you're running escalation, you should be running if you're going to run an escalation, you should be running Reinforced Truth. It combos really well with Reinforced Truth, and escalation is searchable. So that's it. The Prime Monarch is just so versatile. You can flip it face up to return your Monarch cards, and that's the only reason why I run one of the good cards, Monarch cards, because they're searchable and I can return them to the deck. The next thing is that it's a special summonable monster that you can use for tribute fodder. And basically it says that you can basically run more copies of Monarchs if you want, and it really gives you a lot of security. You go through a lot of cards without tribute summoning, and this is going to be one of the biggest reasons why you don't normal summon and you just straight off go tribute summon. That's going to sum up for the main deck. Like I said, a couple of cards that I could have been running, a couple of cards that are really nice, and just cards that I don't think that are the good is the regular Monarchs. The regular Monarchs are not that good, mainly because they're just so restricting, and they don't do much to advance your game state. I guess you could run Caius because, you know, Caius is just a really good card, but Rise Up, more often than not, bouncing pendulums is not the best thing to go. I'm not here to knock people that do play the normal Monarch cards. I actually absolutely love them, which is the reason why I have them in their highest rarity. I absolutely love the Monarch, the normal monsters, but I just felt that they weren't that great. Next, that, I mean, you know, is mediocre is the other Mega Monarchs. Ryza and Mobius are just don't cut the bill right now. I'm not saying that their effects are complete trash, but right now they're not necessarily needed. Light and Darkness Dragon is a card that has been in Monarch since who knows how long, and I really do like the card personally, but it's just the fact that it limits yourself, and you can't have a board to have it, and the monster that you're special summoning isn't that great. Ghost Over and Snow Rabbit, I just decided not to play it. I mean, it's not really much else. The artifacts, amazing cards. I wish I could find at least sideboard room for them, which I probably would after more testing against Pepe. I actually tested a couple hours against Pepe before I did this deck profile, and I really want to play the artifacts. A third Karaz, as you guys can see, there's a Karaz in my side deck. Just because of, you know, when I start running the artifacts. Delg, it's not good right now, but once, you know, people start manipulating the graveyard or going back to the graveyard, Delg will be good. Raigeki, I wanted to side to Raigeki and Dark Hole, but couldn't. Forbidden Chalice is godly. Just another card that I wanted to get into. And then Artifact Sanctum because of the artifacts, which is obvious. Now we can get on to the side deck. Alright, the side deck's pretty simple. I did play test with Pepe for quite a few hours, and I'm not saying that this can't be improved, but, you know, this is pretty much the gist of it. 2 Twin Twisters, really back row heavy, or not back row heavy decks, but really good against Pepe, really good against people that set up scales. I don't like the discard, and it doesn't really seem mandatory at times, but I'm just throwing it in there. It was a really good extra slot, and I felt that it was good. 3 Decree for back row heavy decks. I don't need my traps. The Prime Monarch is better off in the graveyard than field, so 3 Decree for back row heavy decks. Alternatively, you could use Jinzo. 2 copies of Landrope, the Rock Vassal. This card is amazing to get an out for Fog King, and like I said, I did playtest Pepe a couple hours, so the cards that I have showed you guys are like, these cards are useless, but against Rogue and a lot of other stuff, these cards are very handy, and Landrope, the Rock Vassal outs Fog King and a couple of other cards that your opponent will play against you. I really like this card. Next is Fog King. Fog King's great. Fog King's really good in the mirror match. Just preventing your opponent from special summoning, and it's a reason why I have almost a specific out to Fog King in this deck. It completely shuts you down. The Karaz for more destruction. Karaz, a friend of mine, Billy, really good player. He actually had an undefeated Yosinju deck profile on here. He said he didn't like Karaz, and he was only running 1. And I kind of agree with him because I don't want my opponent to draw cards. But I've used Karaz in so many particular ways. I really want to play 2 because special summoning on your opponent's turn to activate its effect is just God. Next is Majesty's Fiends. I felt that Vanity's Fiends was an overall better standalone card against most decks. Just because preventing your opponent to special summon is pretty critical. Majesty's Fiend is great, but it's only great when you have the Dominion and all this other setup. And I just felt that Vanity's Fiend was a great card, but there are times where Majesty's Fiend are the better card, so I decided to sideboard them. Zaborg, because it completely ruins your opponent's extra deck. Nothing much to sell. It's a really good card. And then that last copy of Effect Veiler, because Effect Veiler can be God in a format. Now we can get on to the combos, and I'm going to show you a combos because I'm kind of pressed for time. Okay, a quick combo tutorial. I have 3 combos that I can give you guys right now. There's so many in this deck, but like I said, we're pressed for time. This one I call like you're gonna have Monarchs for days. It's gonna require Idea in your hand as well as Ether in your hand. So basically, you're gonna normal summon Idea. Idea's effect is gonna special summon Squire. Squire's effect is gonna allow you to gain an additional tribute summon. Now you're gonna tribute them both for Ether and activate the effect of Ether. Ether's more than likely gonna send the Prime Monarch and where is that other card? Pandiety to your graveyard. Now, what you do with that is you get to special summon a Monarch to your side of the field. I'm going to special summon Urbis. You can special summon Thetsasalos if you want, Zaborg, any Monarch that you want, for the exception of Karaz if you're going first. You do not want to special summon Karaz unless you have cards to destroy. And then you're going to pass your turn. Next turn, or during the end phase of the turn, Urbis is going to go to your hand, and now you have actually tribute fodder to summon Urbis on your next turn. And then Pandiety, or Pantheism of the Monarch, to search you almost any Monarch card that you want. That's a really good combo, even if you are going first. Next is going to be the Ultimate Lock. Now, the ultimate lock requires you to have 4 cards in hand in specific, but all of them are pretty much searchable. So the only one that isn't searchable is the Vanity's Fiend. There's multiple ways to get these to your hand, and there's multiple ways to get him to the field. But basically, I'm going to start off with the most important, the most simplistic combo, and it requires all the cards to have in hand. We're going to activate March of the Monarch, Dominion of the Monarch. We're going to normal summon Edos. We're going to tribute it for Vanity's Fiend. Now, it's really, really hard to get over this combo because your opponent can't special summon and you can't target him with effects. You can obviously do this exact same thing, and it's almost a better setup with Majesty's Fiend, but like I said, Vanity's Fiend is a better standalone, and that's why I main decked them. Majesty's Fiend prevents your effects from being activated, it prevents March of the Monarch, or it prevents it from being destroyed through March of the Monarchs, and Domain prevents him from going to the extra deck to make a monster bigger than him. So that's a really good lock, but I prefer this lock because, like I said, at very worst, this is a better standalone. The next card is just destroying your opponent's cards on your opponent's turn. You're going to need an already tribute summon monster, and then you're also going to need Ether into your hand, and obviously cards to send to the graveyard with Ether's effect. During your opponent's turn, you wait till they have this super setup build, and they're about to Exceed Summon or Synchro Summon into a card that's going to probably ruin your day, and then, you go activate Ether's effect. You tribute your Caius the Shadow Monarch for Ether, and what Ether does is you're going to send the 2 cards to your graveyard and you're going to special summon Karaz. Now here's where things get interesting. As long as you special summon Ether as Chain Link 1, you're going to be able to get Karaz's effect. And what Karaz is going to do is going to target 2 cards on the field, destroy them, and then the owner gets to draw. Whether it's your cards, your opponent's cards to disrupt their strategy, or whatever you need, you're going to basically prevent them from playing whatever strategy they want, and giving them 2 cards to their hand probably just saved your tail, because those 2 cards couldn't have been as deadly as the 2 cards that you were going to destroy. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Kali Effect. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.